Hi everyone, this is Luxtos, and today I'm bringing you a special video about Elemental Shaman on the PTR. And let me tell you, things look good. Okay, so this is going to be a rambling video. We're just going to talk around the new talents, the changes, and everything about Elemental Shaman, right? So this is not scripted, we're just going to go right at it. We're not going to be talking about enhancement and restoration because there was pretty much no changes for restoration and enhancement shaman. I think there was some number tuning that are coming up in a future patch, so some buff for restoration and enhancement, but nothing worth to be testing, right? But Elemental has some nice changes, so we're going to be going over those right now. First thing that you can see is that Earthen Rage has been moved from its previous emplacement, right? In the 90 row talent right there, and it's now in the 15 talent row. So that one has been moved, and we lost exposed elements, which was, I mean, not that great. But I mean, Earthen Rage is now, I think, in a better place. So this is more like a rotational row. So either you choose to have an extra ability, either you choose to have 2 charges of Lava Burst, and either you have some passive damage. So we're gonna have to sim this, see what's better. Usually Earthen Rage should sim lower because it's passive damage, unless it's a heavy movement fight. So we're gonna have to see, right? Elemental Blast is good when you can cast a lot. So now that it's been fixed, so now Elemental Blast is able to overload, and it's always going to give you an extra stats, right? So before that, if Elemental Blast was doing an overload, you could get Critical Strike twice. The Critical Strike buff, you could get it twice in a row, and that would mean you pretty much lost the overload. You would get the damage, but now you can get Critical Strike, and if it overloads, you're going to get a brand new stat, so you're going to get Aced or Mastery. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good buff for Elemental Blast, but we're going to have to sim this row and see what's good, right? On the second row, Aftershock is the same. Master of Element got buffed, so they added the physical damage part of it. So now you're able to weave in some instant cast Lava Burst to increase the damage of your Earthquake, right? Because Earthquake is physical damage. So previously, this was pretty much useless for AoE. So that row, if you were doing Mythic Plus, for example, I mean, even in single target, nobody was taking Master of Elements, but now with some number tuning, it could be one of the best talents for AoE. It's going to depend. Currently, right now, I don't see it be that good. I was testing it out with 3 target. So 3 target is not really ideal for Chain Lightning Earthquake spam, but still I was trying to test it out, and I feel like having to weave in those Lava Bursts is not is not that great for 20% increased damage on 1 Earthquake, right? It's kind of weird because you have to waste global on keeping Flame Shock up, try to have it as much as possible so you can get those instant cast Lava Bursts, and then you can weave in those Earthquake. But I really feel like I was getting a little bit more DPS on 3 target, at least with Aftershock and Totem Mastery, because either I was getting lucky and getting a ton of Earthquake down, because I would get the proc every 4th one, pretty much. And with Totem Mastery, you just get more passive regen from Maelstrom, and you get some more overload on your Chain Lightning, getting you more resources, all that good stuff. So, again, that's going to be, we're just going to have to test it out, see if it's good. Master of Element is going to be good when a priority target needs to die, so that you need to keep casting Lava Bursts on your priority target instead of just doing massive AoE damage. So it could be good on maybe like a +10 Mythic Plus where you need to kill a single target, but you're still trying to get some resources out. I don't know. We're going to have to test it out. It's really something to debate, right? But at least now they're all, they can all have some use both in single target and in AoE. Next row, as nothing has changed pretty much. The next row, though, we have a new talent called Call of the Tundra, which has replaced High Voltage. I kind of like it. It doesn't do much, but it allows for some nice gameplay, right? So it increased the maximum Maelstrom by 30 and reduced the cost of Earthshock and Earthquake by 10. And this is actually pretty nice with our new talent, Surge of Power, which we're going to go over in a couple of seconds, right? So that's pretty nice. And it stacks with Earth Fury. So if you're PvP enabled, you're able to have 180 Maelstrom. So you can have a huge pool of Maelstrom. So you can already imagine that you're going to be able to get those like big Earthshock stuns for 100 Maelstrom, and you're going to be able to quickly build another one to get another extra 2-second stun. So that's pretty insane. And that's not even talking about Aftershock if you get any proc at all, right? So that's pretty good. And it also, since it reduces the cost of Earthshock, if you're not going for stun and pure damage, you're able to get 3 Earthshock out at 50 resources, right? And if you're maxed out in Maelstrom with the 50 and the 30 extra, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Storm Elemental has not been changed. Liquid Magma Totem stays the same. This row apparently has stayed the exact same. I wish Ancestral Guidance would get buff in its duration, but that's going to be for another video. This right now is exactly the same like it was. Surge of Power. Okay, so this is where the fun starts. This talent is insane. I'm in love with this. There is so many things that you can do and adapt to many situations with this. I just hope that it's going to be good with the numbers, right? I just hope that damage-wise, this is going to be good because there is so much use to it, even in PvP. Primal, Elementalist, and Ice Fury have not been changed. And in the last row, nothing changed except Stormkeeper. Stormkeeper now increases the damage of your next 2 lightning bolt by 250%. This is really crazy, and we're gonna talk. I skipped Surge of Power. We're gonna combine those pretty soon, right? So, and you can also use it for the exact same good old Chain Lightning Overload. So it still does the extra overload on your next 2 lightning bolt or your next 2 Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is not going to have extra damage though, only Lightning Bolt. So this becomes a very, very good single target burst damage, and it's insane. Because I'm going to let you read this, right? Earthshock will enhance your next spell. So either your next Flame Shock is not going to incur a cooldown, meaning that if you Earthshock a target, you can then Flame Shock 2 target right up. The second Flame Shock is going to incur the cooldown. You need to make sure, though, that when you Earthshock, your Flame Shock is not on cooldown. Otherwise, if that's your goal, you're not going to be able to Flame Shock right away because it doesn't clear the cooldown. It simply makes it so that the next Flame Shock doesn't incur cooldown, right? Lightning Bolt. Okay, this is the thing. Your next 3 casts will cause additional elemental overload. This means that the next 3 lightning bolt that you cast after your Earthshock will overload a second time, or a third time if you have Stormkeeper, with 250% increased damage. This is insane. In PvP situation, I was doing some dueling tests, and I was able to one-shot people. I was having fun with one of my friends, Holy Paladin. I was asking him to keep himself alive at full HP, and I was just blasting 2 lightning bolts with 3 overload, and if any of those would crit, you would be dead. It's actually insane. You guys are probably gonna be able to see this as I recorded some footage for you guys. So that part is actually insane. Currently, though, it's kind of buggy. So let me show you. The way that the Earthshock works, just gonna build some resources so I'm able to show you the way it works. So, for example, if I do Earthshock right now, I'm going to get a buff on me that is called Surge of Power, which has the exact same icon as Natural Harmony, so it's kind of weird. If I cast 1 lightning bolt, right? I got lucky and it overloaded, but the first one actually does not work. The first lightning bolt then activate Surge of Power, making your next 3 lightning bolt do an additional elemental overload. I don't know if that's intended or if it's a bug. I would assume that the first one you cast would automatically proc elemental overload and then give you a buff that has 2 more, right? Or something like that. Currently, the way that it works is your first lightning bolt is not guaranteed overload. It's going to behave like a normal lightning bolt. So in this situation, when I was testing it, it did overload, but that was not because of the Earthshock. That was just luck, right? So let me show you that again. Maybe I'm going to get lucky on this one. Okay, so it procced again, but trust me, I've been testing this for a while. and it does not guarantee the first one. So it's kind of weird, right? Because if you want to pair this with Stormkeeper, so I just hope that this is a bug, right? It has to be, because it's kind of weird. So if you want to pair this with Stormkeeper, you have to cast one lightning bolt before you activate Stormkeeper. Otherwise, the first lightning bolt that you cast from Stormkeeper is going to be wasted, because you're not going to benefit from the extra overload. You guys following? So I'm going to try to make it work, right? So, okay, there you go. So I did not get any overload from it, but the 3 next one are going to overload, guaranteed. There you go. 1 overload. 2 overload. And an extra one, right? I got a 3rd one there. So your default lightning bolt can overload by itself, but you're going to be guaranteed an extra one, which makes it have it so much potential with Stormkeeper. And I'm going to show you why, right? So we're going to go into building some resources. Currently, I'm Master of Elements, so you can already see where you could be stacking up a big potential burst. So before casting your first lightning bolt out from Stormkeeper, I'm going to be casting Lava Burst, right? So let's try it out. So I'm going to be casting Earthshock. I'm going to get the empowerment, right? So I'm going to use it on lightning bolt to activate the surge. Then I Lava Burst to increase my next nature ability. Then I Stormkeeper, Blood Fury, Sky Fury Totem, and boom. I got a lightning bolt that did 20k, and the 3 overload were 17k and 17k. So if that first lightning bolt would have crit for 40k, those lightning bolt would have done insane amount of damage. It's actually crazy how much damage you can stack with this, which makes you understand why they had to remove Exposed Element. Because Exposed Element was doing kind of what this is doing. It was increasing the damage of your next lightning bolt by 75%. This would have been completely insane, right? So currently, Echo of Element doesn't help me at all in this build, and Earth and Rage doesn't. So I could pick Elemental Blast to get some more mastery, crit, and Ace doesn't really help in the one-shotting or the bursting window, but it's still pretty nice, right? So I'm gonna go over this again. It's actually so fun to do. It's insane. It's a bit weird right now because I have to do one first lightning bolt before going into my bursting window, but it's okay, right? So what you would ideally want is have your Lava Burst be instant cast to make this happen quicker in a PvP scenario. In a PvE scenario, it doesn't matter at all, right? So I have an instant cast, so I can go into my Elemental Blast, Earthshock, 1 lightning bolt, Lava Burst, and then Stormkeeper, and then there we go. I'm not getting any crits, but you can see those numbers. It's actually insane how much lightning bolt is doing damage. It's just crazy how much damage that is. In PvP scenario, this is gonna have to be nerfed. So I'm expecting Stormkeeper to have a reduced effect on PvP targets, because if it stays that way, you can global someone from 100% HP with Sky Fury Totem. So usually I go without War Mode just so I don't have like the extra Maelstrom and the extra the Sky Fury Totem, because this is just insane. If I get 1 crit on the lightning bolt and it does 3 overload with Sky Fury, you're dead. 100 to 0. Even with cooldown, it's gonna go through because I get then another one. So if the first one doesn't kill you, there's a second one coming and it's gonna do a lot of damage, right? So this is insane. It has so much possibility, but it doesn't stop there. So for example, if you're doing I was testing out with Storm Elemental, right? With Storm Elemental, you can do some insane damage in Mythic Plus with big trash packs. So in fortified cases and things like that, Storm Elemental does a lot of AoE damage, right? While Storm Elemental is up, you could go for a lightning focus rotation, because Storm Elemental reduce the casting time of your lightning bolt and chain lightning by 3% every time you cast one, right? So the more lightning bolt and the more chain lightning you cast, the faster you're going to cast them, going up to 20 stacks, meaning you have 60% increased casting time, reduced casting time on lightning bolt and chain lightning at the end of your Storm Elemental. making you do insane AoE damage. Plus, with the ability of the Storm Elemental, it's actually crazy. When the Storm Elemental goes down, you can start, instead of having like doing Earthquake on trash to do some AoE damage, you can weave in some Earth Shock and instead use Lava Burst. Lava Burst is going to reduce the cooldown of your Storm Elemental or Fire Elemental if you don't have. So if you have this, it says Fire Elemental by 6 seconds, and it's actually pretty good. So let me show you, right? Let me just put this right there. Let me just show you what it does. So let me build some resources. For example, if you were pulling any resources. So pulling resources might come very helpful for Shaman just because of Surge of Power. It's actually pretty cool, right? So let me just show you. You could go for... Oh, I just wasted it. You could go for a more aced-focused build with unlimited power, but I think that Surge of Power and Stormkeeper go so well together that I would not... we're gonna have to sim it, right? But I don't see some ace going over Stormkeeper just because of that 250% increased damage on Lightning Bolt. So you can go ahead and pop Stormkeeper. You can pre-Elemental Blast, right? And then you can Earth Shock, do your Lava Burst, then get your thing out, and then you can start going wild at it, right? And then you can do a lot of Lightning Bolt. I'm not even gonna worry about Lava Burst because I just want to show you how much Lightning Bolt you can get out. I'm gonna Earth Shock though, so I can get my Surge of Power. And those Lightning Bolt, they're going out at a fast rate, and they're all overloading because of my Earth Shock, right? So I need to cast 3 before I Earth Shock again, because they don't add up, right? Look at those Lightning Bolt. This is, I mean, I'm hitting ace cap at some point. They're casting. I'm not able to cast that many, right? And then I can build resources, and I can reduce the cooldown of my Storm Elemental pretty quickly, actually. It's kind of cool, right? So you go into those Earth Shock, and then you use Lava Burst. Currently on PTR, there is a bug that I reported, and that I hope will get fixed. If I do a Lightning Bolt, right, and I spam Earth Shock, if that Lightning Bolt does a lightning, well, it does an overload, it's going to trigger the search for Lightning Bolt. So I'm not going to be able to use it on Lava Burst. So I hope that this is a bug and it's not intended. So I'm going to show you. Okay, so it didn't work right there. So let me try it again. So sometimes I was getting very unlucky with this, and I did. See, so I did an Earth Shock, and I got the Surge of Power for Lightning Bolt just because one of the Lightning Bolt overload hit after the hit from Earth Shock. So then that doesn't allow me to use my Lava Burst as a cooldown reduction for Storm Elemental or Fire Elemental. So I reported the bug, and I hope it's going to be fixed before this goes live. If you're on the PTR, you can also go ahead and report a bug. Maybe that's going to give some more visibility to the bug, and maybe that's going to help it being fixed. Other than that, it's going to be pretty nice. If the bug gets fixed and you get to choose which one you want to use, right? Because right now you don't really get to choose if you're spamming Lightning Bolt in between. 50% chance you're gonna get your lightning buff for the Lightning Bolt, right? The last one is going to be Frost Shock, and that's, at first I was like, meh, it's not that great, right? But then I thought about it, and 6-second root in place with Frost Shock is actually insane. It's instant cast. So of course for PvE situation, it's almost useless unless you're trying to kite some mob and you're trying to just root them in place to prevent your tank from taking damage. But I mean, most mob that needs to be kited can't really be rooted or something, except like the Berserker in King's Rest, maybe, where this could become useful in some cases. But I mean, there's not going to be a lot of use for this in PvE situation. But in PvP, Elemental Shaman, we lost Earth Grab, we lost Gust of Wind. So when you're getting trained by melee, it's actually kind of hard with just Frost Shock and Earth Bind Totem to actually kite melee. So this is going to be insane. Well, when I mean hard, it's not that hard, but we lost a lot of our rooting power that Restoration got. But this is actually very nice. So you're now able to This is a boss. I'm not going to be able to root him, but you're actually now able to root people with Frost Shock right after an Earth Shock, right? So this is not going to be used while you're bursting or something. This is just when you're trying to survive and kite, right? So you can Earth Shock and right after Frost Shock, and this is going to apply the 50% movement reduction, but also rooted in place. Currently, there is no animation, so I was kind of hoping some kind of Frost Nova or something, texture or just display to let you know that your target is actually rooted. But it does not at the moment. We're probably going to get this a little bit later on. But for now, it's still working. The target is not able to move, even if there is no spell animation for it. And it is very, very powerful. Especially if you have, like, if you're in war mode, right? And you have Elemental Attunement, you have Call of the Thunder. You can have a lot of Maelstrom stacked up, and you're able to just Earth Shock and root people instantly for 6 seconds all over the battlefield. It's going to be insane. For very heavy melee cleave, this is going to be the play, I think. So I still don't know how it's going to pair up with Primal Elementalists and Ice Fury. I've never been a big fan of Ice Fury. I've always found that Frost Shock should not be a DPS option. It feels weird to me, right? Ice Fury is like if we gave something to Warrior that makes your next hamstring do 10 million damage. It's kind of weird, right? But that's just personal preference. It's just me. I always found that Ice Fury is a little bit weird, but I know that it is very useful for a heavy movement fight. But right now, Primal Elementalist was blowing everything else out of the water. The Fire LA was just doing way too much damage, so we're gonna see how it pairs out when they're gonna increase a lot of the damage from Lightning Bolt. So that's going to maybe move some of the damage out of Storm Elemental and Fire Elemental to not be so much reliant on this, and maybe the burst from Stormkeeper and Surge of Power is going to take over. And I really enjoy the playstyle. I really like it. And if there's 2 target, you can get 2 Flame Shock up with no cooldown if you plan it right. There is so much application for this to become one of the most versatile and useful talent. I really hope that it pairs out with the damage from Primal Elementalists. But we're going to have to see. Of course, when you take Surge of Power, Ascendance can become kind of good too, because you could potentially have some very nice cooldown reduction on your Fire Elemental, because you're able to cast a lot of Lava Burst. So what you could do is pull energy right before Ascendance, right? Pull a lot of Maelstrom, right before Ascendance, and then you could Earth Shock, Lava Burst, maybe a couple of times, get that cooldown reduced on Fire LA by a lot. But still, again, I'm not sure. I think this is still one of the best combo. And I think you have to take Call of Tundra with it, because it reduces the cost of Earth Shock by 10, making you have more use of this. So, I don't know. We're going to have to see. Liquid Magma is still very, very good. So, we're really going to have to test things out and see how this works. But this is getting me excited right now, because there is finally some tuning that can be done and make our talent more versatile and just not a lock in and pick and never forget about it, right? So this is very nice. Everything else has not been changed, but I'm having a lot of fun on the Elemental Shaman, and this looks very, very promising. I hope there's going to be a little nerf for PvP, because if this goes live, we're maybe going to get nerfed too hard, or there's going to be something that's going to go wrong right now, because I'm telling you, Stormkeeper and Surge of Power in PvP right now is pretty crazy, okay? So, but for now, that's going to be it. So sorry, that was kind of a long, rambling video. I just wanted to get my thought out on the PTR Elemental Shamans. Things are looking good. We don't know yet about Restoration and Enhancement. They're just going to be, right now, they got a little buff on damage and healing-wise. Nothing has changed talent-wise, but PTR is just started, right? So there could be a lot more improved on those spec. I'm going to cover it as soon as there is any changes that are going to be enough for me to be worth making a full video about it. I'm gonna make it, and you guys are going to be able to stay updated on all shaman changes. So until then, I'll wish you good luck in BFA, guys. you.